I hope you're keeping up with all these tier lists because there are plenty on the channel at this point, and you should be checking out the playlist of all the tier lists if you haven't seen them already. But so far, just in case you haven't been aware, I've done a lot of iconic pop albums from the 2000s, the 2010s. I've done rap albums from the 2010s as well. I looked at the top 50 most played on Spotify of all time and ranked those in a tier list too. But one thing I haven't done yet, I haven't looked at a specific decade and ranked any singles, iconic singles in a tier list from top to bottom. I haven't done that yet, and it seemed like a great place to start with the 80s because the 80s is so iconic as a decade for pop music. We saw such a change in the way music became, from music videos to the synths. Everything, man, just became so different from the 80s going forward. So it seemed like a good place to go for a tier list. And yeah, 50 songs ranked in a tier list. Many of these songs will be instantaneously recognizable for you. You will be having a nostalgic rush, I'm sure, for a lot of these songs. But as always, I do like to throw in a few outliers as well. Ones that I want to highlight because I think personally they're really interesting, or they're really good, or deserve a bit more attention than they get. But the vast majority of them, at least 40 plus out of the 50, you're gonna know immediately, my friend. And I have listened to some feedback as well. Sometimes people are saying, I don't know what this album cover is, or I don't know what this, that and the other is. So for the ones that aren't as recognizable, or the ones that don't have the obvious text written to tell you what they are, I've added my own text for them. Can you believe it, my friends? I have done that for you only. And let me tell you, this takes a long time. These videos take a long time, my guy. They take a long time. Adding the text in as well. Wow. Yeah, you got to best believe the effort that gets put into these videos is high. So please check out my Patreon if you want to request your own of these in the future to support me over on there as well. That would be amazing. And let's get into it. I don't think I have anything else to say. 50, 80 songs in a tier list. Let's not waste any more time. Speaking of music videos, we're starting with a big one here. A-ha's Take On Me. I'm going to go B for this one. Just to let you know as well, for the singles or for the songs, I'm just going to keep the tiers the same. I do like to make my own custom tiers, but for songs, I'm just going to leave it to S, A, B, C, D, F. We skip E, we go to F. A-ha's Take On Me, I'm going to go B. A really good song, really classic song. Of course, Blinding Lights, I think, had to credit it or sample it in some kind of way. It might have just been a straight up sample, but Blinding Lights is like the biggest song ever. So, you know, without this song, would we have got Blinding Lights? The answer is no. We would not have got Blinding Lights. So respect Take On Me. Amazing music video as well, by the way. Like, even watching that today, that still looks so cool. But they had to get creative in the 80s because MTV needed excitement. They needed to find things to do to add to that channel, to give them the boost for the songs to become what they were. And yeah, it's a good song. I think for some people, they probably could justify putting this higher. But for me, I think B's fair. Similarly with Cruel Summer by Bananarama. You know, we've got Taylor Swift's Cruel Summer. But before then, we had Bananarama's Cruel Summer. And this song's like the equivalent to, like, you know, like girls who are like, please pay me attention. Please, do you still love me? Because this song's just basically like, you're leaving me and it's a cruel summer. But no, yeah, I don't think it's quite like that. I'm just being facetious, of course. But no, Bananarama, Cruel Summer. What a... That is so catchy, man. That is so catchy. Another song I think you could justify putting like really high. But yeah, I think for me, I'm gonna keep it in B, because let me tell you, man, there's gonna be some high rankings here. Let me tell you right now. So yeah, I don't want to go too high with too many of these songs because I think it's going to be very top heavy. Let me tell you right now. I'm struggling to recognize this one. This is got it. Bruce Springsteen's Dancing in the Dark. It's a BBB, my friends. We're going BBB. Another song that I think, again, could be high. I'm going to keep saying this. But no, really great song. Really like Bruce. Darkness on the Edge of Town is actually my favourite Bruce album, by the way. Love that album. And this probably is up there with his like top 10 songs of all time. Really great stuff, this one. Really beautifully written, really great vocals. Nice to see. It's always cool. Like, this era of music was like, okay, we used to do this, but now we've hit the 80s. We're going to throw in a bit of synth and new wave, and we're going to try something different. There's a few artists on this list that did that as well, by the way. But yeah, I think Bruce nailed what he was going for here. That transition into being that kind of like heartland rocker into this more newer sound for him definitely works out. I mean, he got some of his biggest songs ever, and it sounds great today even still. Chaka Khan, going to be the first A on the list. Love Chaka Khan. Chaka Khan's music is just eternal. Like, some of her albums are just sensational. This isn't my favourite album of hers, by the way. It probably ranks a bit lower, but this song, I mean, come on. What's not to like? The Prince version's already really fun. So you just add Chaka Khan's vocals over this, and it's got those Princeisms with the instrumentation. Like, oh, it's so catchy. It's so groovy. It's so kooky as well. Yeah, this is going to be the first A on the list, and I'm not regretting that. I'm not regretting that, man. Maybe the first hot take here. Maybe Cyndi Lauper in, yes, C, with Girls Just Wanna Have Fun. I heavily recognise that this being lower and a man putting this lower down is probably like, you're the butt of your own joke here, because this is quite obviously a female anthem, a girl anthem, obviously. Not to say that men can't like, oh man, I'm over talking here and I'm making it sound really bad, but I do think there's an audience for this song that I probably don't quite fit into. Although something that you probably don't know, though, that a man did write this song, by the way, so that's something quite funny. But she spun it into her own version and made it into this really like anthemic, fun, dancey pop tune. She really killed it. My only thing is that it just sounds a little cheesy, which a lot of this era does sound cheesy, and that's probably not a very good critique to bring up. But I like it, but I think I get a bit sick of it by the end. Do you know what I mean? When a song's just a bit too much sugar, this song just is that. But she's a good artist, by the way. This whole album was good. Some really good songs on there. We've got the first S tier, my friends. David Bowie's Modern Love. Like, man, Modern Love is crazy. This song is crazy. I never used to appreciate how good it was, and then recently I've just had such like a burst of excitement for this song. This song is insanely good. The instrumentation is incredible. His vocals are incredible. Another artist again that used to be a bit different, a bit more rockier, glammier, but he hit the 80s and he just took it by storm. And that's one of the things I love about Bowie. He is so versatile and he can do so many different styles of music. And this track is just such a treat. It's an explosion of sounds. The instrumentation is just so full. So many artists wouldn't be this imaginative with how you can take a pop song, to be honest with you. David Bowie was one of a kind, and Modern Love is, yeah, absolutely belongs in S tier. I always feel like this isn't as recognizable as some of the songs that I've already talked about here, and that to me is insane. So if you somehow haven't heard this song, please listen to it. Slight hot take again. I feel like people from the 80s are going to look at this tier list and be like, bro, you are crazy. Because I do think there is like a gap here, because I'm nowhere near the age of anyone that lived through the 80s. So there's obviously that gap for sure. And I think people that lived through the 80s are going to look at some of these songs and they'd probably switch the whole ranking. But it's an interesting way to look back at a decade when you weren't from it, because I think you have less bias, you have less nostalgia, and that's probably why Come On Eileen drops a bit lower for me. One of those songs that if you hear it at a party, you're going to get up and have a lot of fun time with your old family members or something. But otherwise, I never want to listen to this song. Like, that song to me is just so obviously ingrained in that kind of environment that there would never be a day that I'm going to stick on this song, you know, around my friends or whatever. It just ain't that kind of song. Rio, Duran Duran. There were a few songs that Duran Duran could have had on here. And I probably should state as well, I haven't gone more than 2 songs per artist because I wanted to keep it to 50 songs. And if I had loads of songs by one artist, it just would have been too much. And the diversity wouldn't be there. So I went with Rio because I think it's probably the most iconic Duran Duran song, even though personally I think I'd prefer a few others. But how can you not have this in A though? Like Duran Duran, just a quintessential 80s, and Jesus Christ, Rio is so good. The first negative from me, I had to balance it out, guys. I was going to have a tier list of just high ranked songs and there were going to be nothing near the bottom. But I had to balance it. There had to be a few negatives. And this one is crazy because 2 of arguably the greatest artists ever on this song. We have Paul McCartney and Stevie Wonder. What Paul McCartney did for the Beatles will never ever die. Like, it is eternal. People will hold them in the highest regards for the rest of music existence. And Stevie Wonder may not have quite that level of influence, but he probably is like top 5 greatest artists of all time ever. Any genre, any era, Stevie is that guy. And they came together. They came together and made this. What is this? No. No. Okay. I'm gonna have to check this one. Okay. Yeah, zooming in a little bit. Another hot take here for me. Eurythmics, Sweet Dreams Are Made of This. I don't know what it is about this song, man, but I've never really liked it as much as everyone else has. Yeah, some of these takes are going to go crazy, I'm sure. But yeah, it's a good song. Like, don't get me wrong. C is good, by the way. Anything higher than a C is something I at least appreciate and enjoy. Just in case you weren't aware. But so yeah, I do appreciate Sweet Dreams Are Made of This, but I just never really heard it and thought it was this insanely amazing song that everyone else seems to hear. Now, let me tell you, Sisters are doing it for themselves though, with Aretha Franklin. That song, I didn't put it on here, that's an S song now, that's an S tier song, love that track. And also, Annie Lennox's solo stuff, really good too, by the way. So yeah, it's not that I'm hating on Annie or Eurythmics, because there are songs that Annie's done solo and Annie's done with Eurythmics that I really love. But it's just this one, I think it's alright. I just think it's alright. Little Lies by Fleetwood Mac. This is a cute little song, isn't it? I mean, it's very like delusional with what it's trying to say, but it's a sweet little cute song that I hear a lot when I'm walking through like shopping centres. This is literally like a shopping centre anthem, you know. I will never not hear this walking through like places like, you know, like I'm living in Sheffield at the moment, so a place like Meadowhall or Crystal Peaks, you know, those kinds of shopping centres, you're just never going to not hear those. Okay, Guns N' Roses, Sweet Child of Mine. I feel like we've seen a bit of like a sea change towards this song over the years. It might just be a newer generation rejecting the older stuff or something, but I don't really get it with this song. I think this song's really nice. I think the vocals, considering Axl is a pretty poor singer, like I think that sometimes goes a bit under noticed. He isn't a very good singer, and his voice is like aged terribly. So his voice has aged terribly over the years. But I think even that was, you know, that besides the point. You know, the guitar solo on this, the guitar riff is wonderful. Yeah, there's a lot to like about this song. I just feel like I see a lot more negativity towards it these days. It's not like my favourite, but I think B is fair. No hesitation, 2 S's in a row here. Hall & Oates, both going straight in S. I think I might slightly prefer I Can't Go For That. Yeah, love these tracks. You Make My Dreams, so fun, so buoyant, so bouncy, so carefree. Love that track. And I Can't Go For That. Oof, a bit more sensual. You know, that groove is so good. The bass line on that track, oh, it hits. And let me tell you a little story. Michael Jackson might have ripped this off. I mean, Hall & Oates apparently didn't care about that, but they spoke about it and had a conversation. And Billie Jean might have basically ripped off this groove. So yeah, you know, pretty influential song if you're asking anyone out there, because if you're talking about Billie Jean, one of the most iconic songs of all time, to be inspired by to be inspired by this to make that, that's kind of crazy. It's similar to like Blinding Lights. I mean, you know, without this song you don't get that. I mean, what a world we would live in if those things didn't happen. But even still, without that, love these two songs. Hall & Oates, kind of underrated actually. Joan Jett, another D. I love rock and roll. Just so corny. Like, come on, man. Throw this song in their bin. Like, just made for people that, like, you know, want to be like, I like rock music, and they're listening to this. Like, this is like the least rockiest track out there. Like, it's just got no bite to it at all. And I do think it was made in a boardroom where people were like, we need a song that makes people reminded of how much they like this, how much they like that. And the chorus, well, the chorus could just be like, you know, I like rock music. And that's the song, really. That's it. And then they just did this. And Joan Jett was kind of cool, so they got her to make it. I don't know, man. This just feels super, super not good. One of the best songs of all time. I'm telling you right now, Somebody Else's Guy by Jocelyn Brown. One of the best songs of all time. I love this track. The disco, the vocals, the narrative of the song. It's just so good. It's a long song, to be honest with you. But oh my God. The greatest ever song ever. Even though that might not be true, but it is just the best song ever, man. It is just the best song ever. If you've never heard it as well, by the way, it's probably one of the least popular songs on this list. But I'm telling you right now, you will not forget it when you hear it. This song is incredible. But we are now about to enter some legendary music here from a legendary artist. God, there's going to be so many S songs in a row. Babushka, Kate Bush. What a song. I mean, just so satisfying to say that word, and the way that she presents it in the song is just so Kate, to be so quirky and a bit weird. But this song is incredible. And then Running Up That Hill, which had a bit of a resurgence in the past few years, which is pretty cool. But was always amazing, was always fantastic, and just beautifully written. A wonderful idea for a song. The vocals are glorious. The instrumentation is so good. It's aged perfectly. It's aged immaculately. It's no surprise that this song made it to #1 like 30 odd years after it came out, or whatever it, however many years it was, maybe even more than that. Yeah, no surprise. It sounds like it came out last week. It's eternal. Kate was something else. And then we got Never Too Much by Luther Vandross, which is also going in S, which I might put there. Just so good, man. Like, so good. Very much like the back end of the 70s still playing into like 80s music, because this sounds like it could have been a 70s soul pop jam, you know what I mean? Like Marvin Gaye was writing these types of songs in his sleep and that kind of thing. But yeah, so good, so soulful, so catchy, just beautiful. I mean, it's a bit sappy, it's a bit over the top with the things that he's saying, but you can't help but hang on every single word he says, and can't help but believe every single word he says. It's just so bloody good. Next we have, Madonna. We've got some Madonna tracks here. Another S. God damn. Borderline. Okay, so yeah, you know, we've got a few Madonna tracks on this very list, right? And I know for a fact that there are bigger songs than Borderline, but like I said, I wanted to switch it up a little bit and include something a little different. It's not one of her biggest songs, but it is certainly one of her best songs. This song is so stunning. The melody is just so simple, but it's so effective. The way it kind of keeps like reverting back to that refrain, and it's just really, really cleverly done. It's really, really beautifully done. Yeah, absolutely love this track. One of my favourite Madonna songs for sure. Like a Prayer, though, I'm going to go in A. Really iconic. Like, to think like this music video actually was a thing like that. This is super controversial. I mean, Madonna's always had that kind of like attitude to her, where she will just kind of, for better or for worse, say things that, you know, she kind of just wants to say. And yeah, this music video, being an 80s music video, pretty controversial actually. But yeah, incredible song. Really love a gospel sort of feel to a track. Anytime a song just has that, It always wins me over. My God, Plastic Love though? Plastic Love is incredible. What a song this is. Not really a track that, you know, is going to be instantaneously recognizable, but I think it's become so iconic over the years in such an interesting way. Like, without the internet becoming the way it has, this song would never be known by anyone. And it's still pretty obscure in the grander scheme of music, obviously. You know, your average person's not going to have a clue what this is. But the fact that it managed to build an audience or build a niche following through the internet just makes it so interesting and brings us to a time in the modern day that just I really love. Like, I love that music has been able to have that impact because of the internet. I mean, it's really the internet doing it, but yeah, Plastic Love is really, really catchy, really brilliant synth pop track that yeah, for me is just brilliant. Yeah, it's brilliant. Okay, next we have The Way You Make Me Feel, The Way You Make Me Feel. If you've watched my Michael Jackson video, you would know that I love this song. It was in my top 10, bit of a spoiler there. And of course, Billie Jean was also in there. But I do think he has a few other songs that are S tier worthy compared to these two. They're both still fantastic tracks, but they don't quite reach that, like, oh my God, I adore this whenever I hear it. Do you know what I mean? Like, S is like something else. They're on another level. And the fact that there's already so many S's makes me feel like I'm trying to be a bit more stingy with my placements here. Do you know what I'm saying? I can't quite, you know, be too heavy with all of the S tier placements. I have to be a little critical. And Billie Jean and The Way You Make Me Feel, I mean, again, I could have picked so many songs from Michael Jackson from this era. There was like Bad, there was Wanna Be Starting Something, there was friggin' Thriller, there's Beat It. Oh my God, there's so many songs I could pick. PYT, Man in the Mirror. Like, he ran the 80s. He ran the 80s, my friends, and he really did. But I just went with these two instead. Let me see what we have next. Oh, maybe also the greatest song of all time. Buffalo Stance by Neneh Cherry. Oof. This song just gets me. This song just gets me. And this was a really big hit at the time. Like, this was top 5 in the UK. I think it was high in the US as well. This was a massive hit, but somehow feels like one of those songs that history has kind of left behind a little bit. But there is something so special about this track. It combines so many elements that make it feel so quintessentially 80s, but also feel like it's aged so well too. You know, the song has a driving kick drum that drives the song. You've got the rapping on the verses. You've got the really, really catchy pop hook. It really feels like pretty special for the amount of things it's trying to do. And I just think it's aged so exceptionally well. I mean, it is just so good. Neneh Cherry is an absolute delight on this track. And it just feels like it never quite gets the love it should. But I want to see a day where this song gets some kind of resurgence. Maybe me putting it in this video gives it a resurgence. That's not going to happen. But, you know, I'd love to see it happen. Because it just feels like it's been left behind. People don't think about it as much. It's not quite as talked about as other songs from its era. But honestly, it is as good as anything else and is one of the best songs for me of all time. Not just the 80s. I absolutely love this song. Blue Monday by New Order. Maybe just heard it a bit too much, so it ends up falling a little bit lower down. That's a bit of a take right there. I think a lot of people are going to be surprised at that one. Yeah, I do like New Order. I don't think I love them as much as I want to or as much as other people do. I did include them in my Essential Synth Pop Albums video, but that was more because of how impactful the album is rather than how much I like it myself. And Blue Monday is probably up there with one of their best songs, but yeah, it doesn't quite grip me as much as it used to. I mean, that intro is iconic as hell. And it is a very good song, but yeah, maybe just falls a little bit lower compared to some of these. What a weird single cover this one is, by the way. You Can Call Me Al by Paul Simon. It just doesn't match the song at all. Really doesn't. Single artwork in the 80s, you can tell they put less effort into that than they did the videos, because some of these, man. Anyway, You Can Call Me Out, great track. Ba, 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 ba. Ba, 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 ba. I definitely think Harry Styles was trying to make one of those when he did his most recent album with that friggin' music from a sushi restaurant. It's had its impact. It's a great track, iconic video as well. Yeah, I like Paul Simon. Paul Simon had some ways. We're gonna go another D, In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins. Just feels very, I don't know, it feels very thin. I guess it's got the monkey gorilla thing. I don't see it, man. I just don't see it. Probably could have picked I'm So Excited by the Pointer Sisters, but similarly with some of these other tracks, I wanted to pick one just a little bit more exciting than that. Automatic for me is a better song. Very Prince inspired, again with the groove. The guitar is so catchy on this track. The chorus is fantastic. Yeah, I really like Automatic. Was a massive hit at the time too. In fact, if my memory serves me correctly, it charted higher than I'm So Excited did. But I think I'm So Excited has become the more iconic song over the years, which is quite interesting. But yeah, I love Automatic, and I think it absolutely deserves to be in A. I've got two Prince songs coming. Purple Rain. Put that in there, S tier. Get that right in there. You know, it's funny because When Doves Cry is a track that I probably listen to more. Yeah, I've got to put it probably a bit higher. Yeah. But the funny thing is that ultimately I know that Purple Rain is the better song. And when you hear it, it's like an event. It's like you're sat down for a blockbuster, you know what I mean? The biggest film of the year is about to drop. You're in the cinema, you're waiting, anticipating, you know, you're excited. And that's what Purple Rain is like. And it can't not be S tier, because it just gives you that amazing feeling when you know it's about to happen. Yeah, it's incredible. Under Pressure by Queen and Bowie, another Bowie track making its way onto here. Probably here, maybe flirting with the S tier a little bit. I really liked its reimagination in Aftersun. What a film that is, by the way. If you've never seen Aftersun, it's incredibly sad, but great film nevertheless. Yeah, but what a song. I mean, influencing freaking Vanilla Ice to be probably the more recognizable song, but this is so much better than that. The First F, UB40, Red Wine. This is another one where I think, like, you know, if you were an 80s baby, you're going to be like, how could you put this here? Because it does seem to be more of a resonate. It resonates more with the older generation. But let me tell you right now, my friends, and I don't like to get on my soapbox very often on this friggin' channel, but white people doing reggae? No. White people doing reggae? No, thank you, no. Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley. I kind of never want to hear it again, but I also recognise that it's actually a bit of a tune, you know. It's actually a bit of a tune. It's silly, it's funny, it's goofy as hell, but it is a bit of a good tune. Super Freak, gonna go in S. Bottom of the S, though, I'd say. God, the S tier is looking wild. Look how many S songs there are. Wow. But yeah, Super Freak, just a track that is so, again, goofy. It's really goofy and silly. It's almost like he's creating a character for this song, but also had quite a bit of influence because it's been sampled in like multiple massive hits now. You probably could have justified having MC Hammer's You Can't Touch This on this list over Super Freak, really, because I think that is the more recognizable usage of that instrumental. But Super Freak is just like way better. So, you know, Simple Minds with Don't You Forget About Me. Great song, used in Breakfast Club more famously probably than the song it was itself, which is an okay film. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't quite see the hype for that film, but it's all right. It's used very well in the film, but the film's just okay. Yeah, I really like this song, of course. Soft Cells, Tainted Love. Gonna put that in B. Yeah, I think that's fair. Maybe there, actually. Yeah. Another song that's been sampled in another huge song. This is kind of wild. But I will say, SOS by Rihanna, I think I prefer that, to be honest with you. Yeah, Starships, We Built This City. I'll throw this in F too. I think it's only fair to have more than one in F, you know. Don't leave UB40 on their own. Got to be nice sometimes. Starships, We Built This City. Just, I don't get this song. This is another song that feels really iconic, and I just don't hear it. I just don't get it. Maybe it's like rock and roll, like not the genre, but like referencing rock and roll that I just don't like. On rock and roll, I just don't get what that means. What are you talking about? What does this song even mean? So many of like the S tier songs mean so much, you know. The idea behind them, you know, the lyrics. There's just so much thought into them. But I do think some of these lower down tiers are just like, nah, you didn't really come up with much there, did you? You didn't really, did you? Talk Talks, It's My Life. I'm going to put it in A. Kind of had another recent, like, oh my God, with this song. Yeah, really love this track. It's pretty, it feels like it's one of those songs that's not as iconic as some of these other tracks, but I definitely think if you heard it without knowing what the title was, you'd know it. It's one of those songs. But Talk Talk are actually a very good band. Like, the way they transitioned from this era is pretty impressive. Like, they do not sound anything like this on their two most celebrated albums, Spirit of Eden and Laughingstock. Spirit of Eden, by the way, is very good. But yeah, I think this kind of era of them doing more anthemic, sort of like rager, pop rock anthems, they just nailed, man. Life's What You Make It is another great track from them too. Okay, got a couple of S's on the way. Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Seriously, just one of the best songs ever for me. Look at this for like the S tier. This S tier is looking saucy. Oh my days. But Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Yes, I know it's like a sort of depressing track, but built on a happy instrumental. But how could you want this instrumental to be any other way? It's just so beautifully done. And that point in the track where it's like, say that you'll never, 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 never need it. Oh, that part's so good. This guy's voice, he was cooking. And then Head Over Heels is not as good, but yeah, I think it deserves to be an S as well. Head Over Heels is sensational. Kind of a bit more of a depressing sounding track, but again, Tears for Fears, man, when they hit those choruses, they are like no one else out there. There's a reason why this is like in my top 25 albums of all time, all genres. Because these two tracks, as well as the whole album, is just like ridiculously anthemic. Like the choruses are next level every single time. Okay, Talking Heads, Once in a Lifetime. Easily like the biggest Talking Heads song from this era. I think I'll put it quite high in the A's. Yeah, I think it deserves to be pretty high in the A's, to be honest with you. And you may ask yourself, it's just so good. David Byrne's just so frantic. He kind of holds it a little bit back on this track, and it probably is the reason why it ended up being so big, because usually he's a bit all over the place and a bit messy. But even still, he's got his weird ways on this track, you know? But yeah, love this track. Brilliant. It's brilliant. Okay, what else we got? We got the Downtown Lights from the Blue Nile. Probably one of the least recognizable tracks on this list as well, but another one that feels like as time's gone by, it feels like so quintessentially 80s and has garnered a more modern audience through the history of looking through music blogs and music sites and publications, and having the internet at every turn just gives us the opportunity to find tracks like this. And while you may not recognize it from its title, goddamn is it a stunning track. Just so mellow and beautifully arranged with how simple and hollow it is. But yeah, stunning song. Right, we're at the last leg, the last hurdle. We're going to speed run these last few tracks. We've got a few Cure songs to get through. We've got the Smiths, we've got the Police, and we've got some Whitney Houston too. So it's exciting, my friends. And the Cure are going straight in S. Again, look at this S tier. Look at the S tier. Wow. The Cure Love Song. I think Robert Smith doesn't like this track anymore. But how can you not, man? It's so stunning. So stunning. And, you know, I think the ordering here has gone a bit awry, but Just Like Heaven, oh, God, I'm going to have to put this. Oh, it's tricky, but yeah, I think it is probably top 5 on this whole list, you know. Yeah, it is. It is. It really is. Just Like Heaven is one of the most stunning songs I've ever heard. The instrumentation is absolutely gorgeous. And it is a song, again, over time, has garnered a bit more success. It is like a certified gold track in the UK, even though it didn't chart that high at the time. But that really only goes to show you, like, how history can do songs a service and a justice, because, like, to not chart that high but over time end up becoming like a really well sold song is really impressive. Amazing stuff from The Cure. The Smiths, not really the biggest fan of the Smiths, but I actually love This Charming Man. I think that deserves to be in the A tier too. Just that jangly instrumentation, that jangly guitar really kills it for me. And it's always been one of my favourite Smith songs, even though they probably have more iconic tracks in their discography. You know, There Is a Light That Never Goes Out is probably one of the more iconic tracks from their discography for sure. But yeah, I just think that song was worth including. Unfortunately, we're going to have to go a bit negative again with Every Breath You Take. The thing is with The Police is that they actually have some amazing songs, and I would probably put a few of them really high up on this tier list. But it seems as though that Every Breath You Take is the one that's like become really successful for them. And I get what they're doing. I know it's about, like, you know, being stalked by a fan or whatever, but it just sounds so weird to listen to. Like, I don't really feel like I'm ever in the mood to hear this kind of song. It's just a bit odd. It doesn't sound particularly that good either. Like, when you're looking at the tracks like Message in a Bottle or Roxanne, like, they're great to listen to, but this song isn't very enjoyable on the ears to me. Fast Car by Tracy Chapman, kind of like one of the most covered songs ever. It's covered by so many people. But yeah, it's a really good song. It falls a bit flatter for me because I think I've heard it a little bit too much. But even still, I think it's really stunning. It's a really beautifully put together track. I think the structuring is fantastic on this track. Yeah, really well done. And finally, we're at the last two now. We're near the end. We've made it to 50 songs, my friends. Woo! Whitney Houston with 2 bangers. 2 rages. I Want to Dance with Somebody. They're just both an A, really, aren't they? I think I'll go there for I Want to Dance with Somebody. And How Will I Know, which is the song I like more by her. Both amazing. I mean, what's there to be said about her vocals? I mean, who out here is going to be like, oh, Whitney, she can't sing? Of course she can sing. But the way she just brings so much fun to the table with these tracks, oh, she was smart with this one. I Want to Dance with Somebody especially. That is literally just a floor filler track immediately. No matter what age you are, you're going to get up and want to dance to that song. So iconic, that track. So everlasting as well. It is just similarly to kind of like Girls Just Want to Have Fun. Like, it's immediately a sensation that just makes you really happy and you just want to get up and dance. It's so good. But How Will I Know, actually, I just like this song a little bit more. I think the way she presents her vocals in a bit more in an earnest way. I think the lyrics are quite nice as well. Yeah, I think it's a better song, but maybe a bit of a hot take there. They're both in A. Whichever order you put them in, really, does it matter that much? I don't know. Ooh, we got there in the end. Long video, I apologise, but 50 iconic 80s songs for your pleasure. It is all here in writing right there for you to see on this screen. It's there, my ranking. Tell me what you think of the ranking. Please, as well, create your own. If you want to get involved in talking about this, send it me on Twitter, send it me on Instagram, wherever you follow me. You can send your own and tell me what I got wrong. Tell me if I'm crazy for thinking this, that, or the other. And please put your own ranking together. It would be great to see. I know I haven't included every single amazing song from the 80s. I'm sure you'll be screaming at me for saying, why have you not included this or that? But I know this video would have been massive and gone on for like hours and hours if I'd included every single song. I had to reduce it to 50. I threw in a few outliers as well, but hopefully you got some enjoyment out of this video. And yeah, please subscribe if you haven't already as well for more videos like this. My throat is gonna die for talking. please check out my Patreon as well. Have a good day and goodbye.